In episode 6, the cops flood into the Cameron household with warrants looking to search the premises. There's really nothing Ward can do. The warrant, though, isn't for Ward Cameron, it's for Rafe, and it's for murder. Ward tells Shoup that Rafe did not do this, but the FBI agent steps in and says, well, we have proof, so it's going to be a lot easier if you tell us what you know. Ward, though, says, nah, I need to speak to my lawyer. Shoup pulls the FBI agent aside and tells him that he thinks they should get a warrant for Ward Cameron because he's a flight risk. He knows something, but the FBI agent says, no, don't, because if there's one thing I do know, it's that he's going to get in contact with his son, and we'll just tail him. And Ward does, in fact, text Rafe telling him that there's cops in the house and to lay low. And Rafe, who had slept at Barry's house the previous night, is freaking out a little bit. A few hours later, Ward plans his escape. He figured that the FBI would be tailing him, so he hops in the trunk and has Rose drive him to a car wash. When the car goes in the car wash, Ward hops out and is able to lose the FBI tail. He then hitchhikes to Barry's place, where he asks Barry, can we have a moment alone? And Barry gives Ward a lot of attitude, like, yeah, no problem. It's only my house. Hey, take your time. I'll go outside. But when Barry goes outside, he stands right next to the window listening to the whole conversation. And Ward hands Rafe a stack of cash and tells him he wants him to go to Wilmington that night. Ward has an old office there that Rafe can lay low. And then from there, Rafe needs to go to Raleigh, North Carolina, where there's a private airstrip, and he can fly out of the country. Rafe then apologizes to Ward, telling him that Ward was right about a lot of the things that he said. Ward tells Rafe it's fine, don't worry about it, you're going to have time to prove me wrong. And then right before Ward leaves, he tells Rafe, by the way, you asked me if I'd pick you or your sister? Well, I'm picking you. Get to Wilmington. And then he takes off. And Rafe is going to need help to get to Wilmington. So he throws a bunch of money at Barry to find him a boat so that they can get the hell out of there. But now that the cops are searching the Cameron premises, it exonerates John B. So the cops bring him to the warden's office, where the warden tells John B that the cops are dropping all the charges. John B isn't really sure what happened, but he's not going to ask too many questions. The warden does let him know before he leaves to be ready to tell the cops everything he knows about Ward and Rafe Cameron. So he figures that the cops finally figured out exactly who killed Peterkin. But as he gets up to go, the cop who beat the shit out of him, he feels pretty bad about what happened. So he gives John B his van back. And John B heads straight for the Pogues. They're thrilled to see him back, and they're not sure why either, because the news about Ward Cameron hasn't reached everybody yet. But after the initial shock and hugs, John B is upset because Sarah isn't there, and he's worried when Key tells him that she didn't come home last night. But as they discuss it further, Topper rolls up with Sarah in his boat, and there's nobody more surprised to see John B than Sarah. She gives him a giant hug, but he's wondering why she's hanging out with her ex. I mean, you hear about this stuff. You go away to prison, your girl goes off and sleeps with another man. Trust me, I know about that life. Anyway, Sarah fills John B in on what happened with her and Rafe the previous night. And if it wasn't for Topper, she'd be dead. John B reluctantly says, I guess I owe you one, Topper. And Topper says, it's all good. I mean, someone had to rescue your girlfriend, right? And John B wants Sarah to tell Topper that they're married. But she doesn't. She just says, I'm with him. It's really, really awkward, and Topper says, I think I'm just going to go. But once they get alone, they then get into their first fight as a married couple. It's adorable. John B wants to know why she didn't tell him that she was married. She felt awkward telling Topper after Topper just saved her life. And as John B and Sarah were having their little lovers quarrel, another relationship was ending before it even began, because Key gives Pope the, I think it's better if we're friends talk. And Pope is heartbroken, but he doesn't have a choice but to put on a good face and say, yeah, I think that's for the best, even though he definitely doesn't want that at all. As the two hug it out as friends, JJ runs up and tells Pope, hey, I just got a call and something happened with your dad. And when the group heads to the marina, they find out that Pope's dad was jumped. But he wasn't just jumped by anyone. He was jumped by Carla's goon, which we find out is actually her half-brother. His name's Renfield. He went looking for the key, and Pope's dad didn't know anything about it, so he took a beating for it. When Pope realizes why his dad got beat up, he hands over the key saying, I'm going to put an end to this. I'm just going to give them the key. But Pope's dad says, no, don't do that. They clearly want it for a reason. So you need to figure out why they want this key so badly. Go talk to your great-grandmother. She might have some information on this. So the group heads on over to pay Pope's great-grandmother a visit. As they're doing so, they're trying to research this Cross of Santo Domingo. And a quick Google search reveals that it was a gift from New Spain to the Spanish king. The gift was thought of at the time to be the most extravagant gift in history. but it was lost off the coast of Bermuda. When they get to the retirement home, though, Pope says, I'm going to do this alone. And he heads in, and the Pogues tell him, all right, we'll pick you up later. And Pope's great-grandmother is definitely senile, but he's able to get out of her a very important detail, that he is a relative of Denmark Tanny. As Pope was having the conversation with his great-grandmother, JJ and John B. were talking about the relationship between John B. and Sarah and Key were complaining about their boy problems. They get the call, though, from Pope to pick him up, and when they find out that he's a relative of Denmark Tanny, they start razzing him a little bit about it. They start trying to figure out, though, what the key has to do with all of this. They know that there's a link between Pope, the key, the cross, and Pope figures that what Carla told him about the cross leading to a treasure wasn't something she actually wanted to reveal. It was an accident. So if there truly is a treasure, he feels like they can just split it, like they were planning to do with the original gold. As they're discussing this plan, though, Carla and Renfrey walk up, and Pope wants to start swinging at them for beating up his dad, but Carla starts denying everything. Carla tells Pope that they can continue to negotiate, but the fact is she wants the key and she's not going to stop until she gets it. As she's having Renfrey muscle Pope around, John B. pulls out a very similar-looking key and tells Carla, I could just throw this in the water and it's going to be lost forever. As John B. is distracting Carla, Pope's a little confused, and he looks in his pocket, and he's got the original key. So he just lets John B. spin this web of lies to Carla because she's buying all of it. They end up negotiating a trade, this fake key, for the tape that exonerates John B. And when Carla and Renfrey hobble out of there, the group figures they have a couple hours before she realizes it's a fake. But Key, Sarah, Pope, they're trying to figure out what exactly they just gave her. And that's when JJ tells the group that him and John B came up with this plan to grab an old key from John B's house just in case this were to happen. It's probably the first good plan JJ's ever had. After they get the tape, John B heads on over to Shoop and hands it over, telling him there's proof that Ward and Rafe Cameron killed Peterkin. But to John B's surprise, Shoop isn't surprised at all and just says, yeah, we know, kid. So while that plan went off without a hitch, Rafe has constructed a plan to get to Charleston with Barry's help. Barry has found him a boat, and they start going through the swamp a little bit. And as they're doing so, Barry tells him, Rafe, I don't particularly dislike you, but I'll never forget how your dad punked me. And then he jumps in the water, because Barry has tipped off the police on Rafe trying to flee. At first, Rafe is prepared for a shootout, but he realizes he's going to end up getting shot if that happens, so he tries to make a run for it, where he ends up getting arrested. When Ward and Rose find out that Rafe was arrested, Rose is freaking out a little bit because she knows it's only a matter of time before they come after Ward. She tells Ward that the Druthers is right out front and they can be in international waters in a few hours. Ward tells Rose it's going to be okay, but she says, yeah, it's going to be okay because we're going to get the hell out of here. We're going to save ourselves. You got to start thinking of Wheezy right now. And Ward stands up and says, I'm telling you, it'll be okay. You just got to trust me. But Rose is right. They're coming for Ward. They filed a petition to get a search warrant, but they need a judge's signature, and that judge just so happens to be Topper's grandfather. And when Topper sees the police show up with the warrant, he ends up calling Sarah to tip her off. Topper ended up giving her a cell phone that only he has the number of. So when Sarah gets this phone call, she's not so much worried about her father, she's more worried about Wheezy. The group race over to the Cameron household, and Sarah begs John B to go faster, and he says, do you think I want to miss this? And Sarah shoots him a look, because the Pogues haven't really been empathetic towards Sarah's situation. They've been reveling in the fact that Ward Cameron's being taken down. Everybody except Key. Key's been a pretty good friend to Sarah. When the Pogues get to the Cameron household, Sarah does end up finding Wheezy, and Wheezy's very confused, and Sarah sends her inside saying, don't come out. But the cops, upon arrival, were told by Rose that Ward is on the Druthers. And when they get to the dock, sure enough, he's on it, and it looks like it's about to set sail. Ward tells Shoop that they're definitely going to make him sheriff after this because he caught him fair and square. And Shoop is trying to get Ward to come in, give himself up, but Ward doesn't really seem very interested in that. Sarah ends up coming on the dock with her friends, and Ward is infuriated that the police let her there. But they figure that maybe Sarah can convince him to come in. She isn't able to, though. As police boats converge on the Druthers, Ward ends up pulling up anchor and running into the hall as Sarah is begging him not to leave. But he doesn't leave. He blows up the ship. When the ship blows up, Sarah is inconsolable. And when she looks at John B really isn't there for her. Topper is. John B is taking it in that the guy who killed his father and tried to kill him a couple nights ago just committed suicide. But when he looks down at his girlfriend, who is crying her eyes out, he realizes he might have messed up because her ex-boyfriend is trying to calm her down. Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought this sucked. Make sure to be nice in the comment section. If you don't see the next video up in the end screen there, I'll get it up in a few days, not to worry. And I have merchandise, so go buy a mug or something. It's never too early to think about Christmas gifts, folks. Once again, thank you for checking out this recap.